My sustained investigation focuses on my relationship with stress. This portfolio created an introspective opportunity for me to put visuals to what stress can feel like both physically and emotionally. The figure in Piece 1, who is unaffected by chaos, and the avoidance in Piece 2 both show common reactions to stress. Pieces 3 and 4 depict the emotions of stress through facial expressions. Both pulled my idea in many directions as I experimented with varying subject matter and mediums. Piece 5, Smoke, and 6, Kiss, show positive reactions, with the latter focused on passion and human connection to deal with stress. By pieces 7 and 8, I started to explore surrealism. The sticker and skeleton both depict the idea of being controlled and what can be happening internally versus being seen externally. The continuous line figures in the woods in Piece 9 represent the stress that consistently looks over a shoulder as a present but subtle factor that's always there. The snakes in Piece 10 cover and almost torture someone, taking over completely. By focusing on creating a story, I could personally depict my relationship with stress while also opening the door for interpretations by others as well.
My sustained investigation explored both positive aspects of Indian culture as well as controversial ones, leading me to be introspective into my relationship with my heritage. I focused on telling the history of India in a new modern way. Piece 1, A Powerful Queen, explored digital editing to create an inverse diptych, while Piece 2 admonishes the ancient tradition of widow burning, which was once voluntary but then later became forced. Digitally painting challenged me to focus on elements of art, applying my foundational knowledge to a new medium. In Piece 4, I focused on blending history with the present. The elephants show both celebration and controversy in one image. The more introspective I became, the more I wanted to explore expectations, femininity versus masculinity, as well as parental and societal expectations. As I looked into the adverse aspects of Indian culture, it's also important to me to celebrate the beauty of India, the feeling of home and diversity of its people, which can be seen in the last 3 pieces. Piece 10 in particular encompasses the idea of celebrating differences, giving each religion a portrait in the Indian flag colors.
I explored the idea, how much is too much? And what surfaces when the balance between logical and absurd is, well, lost. Starting with paint, I subtly mocked the excessive nature of humans, juicing until nothing is left. Ice cream then depicts the torturous aspect of binge eating. Yes, too much ice cream can feel like torture, while worry hair proves too much transcends physicality through anxieties. Both began as paintings, but digital editing enabled experimentation in repetition, perspective, and pattern. Overabundance then leads to grabbing time, where opportunities can't solidify before slipping through one's hands. Digital illustration led to editing digital photography in treadmill and blue lights, where pressures shift from self to society. Robot, a warning of advanced technology, introduces humor. It's tongue-in-cheek. Playing with surfaces adds to the all-encompassing technology. Doomsday is then comedically dark. In defending life, they forget to live. With no care, though, TV shows her original willingness to watch TV, holding the remote, despite the contraption prying her eyes open. This overconsumption is the ultimate depiction of too much, while stripping all traditional mark-making away to play with proportion, space, and shape through collaged materials.
How do little aspects of daily life contribute to who we are as a person while we grow up? My portfolio is a retrospective view of small moments growing out of childhood and looking forward into adulthood. I created flashes of time of fond nostalgia or moments of anxiety that, while are personal, many can relate to and have an emotional connection with. The shadows of the dollhouse show a chapter closing, while the next three, my 5 portraits, Chinese takeout, and time, give glimpses into the small moments of teenage life and how there's comfort in everyday routine. The anxiety and uneasiness of pieces 5 and 6, coffee and eyes, leads into a carving of our own path in piece 7, a portrait of faith. Experimenting with digital art provided a new medium where I could incorporate layers of ideas, edit them down, and then build back up again. The salt shaker and eggs capture moments in history that once seemed meaningless, but were the creation of lasting memories. I explored texture, perspective, and composition in lieu of traditional portraits. The last piece, Mirror, also allows the viewer to view themselves as an adult and a child at the same time, offering an invitation to be introspective about their own history.
My sustained investigation was guided by what it's like growing up as a woman, specifically by exploring the aspects of life that are only present for the female sex. Scale and Smile, pieces 1 and 2, both focus on outside pressure to be something that we may not be. Both started as digital photos, but editing allowed for experimentation in style, repetition, and composition. Multiplicity, piece 3, depicts the paranoia and anxiety that a woman could have walking in an empty parking garage that a man likely would not. After time, I shifted my mindset to focus on the positives of life as a woman, gaining strength through the experiences of the first half of my portfolio. Eyes, piece 5, and Walls, piece 6, show determination in the face of adversity. Stretch and Split Portrait, pieces 7 and 8, celebrate the body and the roles that women can play. They build on photo skills, driving me to focus on composition and exposure with editing, only to complement the concept. My last images, Two Girls and Collage, pieces 9 and 10, are both film photography, forcing me to revise and revisit until they were developed perfectly. I created these pieces with the mindset of looking introspectively and overcoming what we need to be strong, multifaceted women.
The question that guided my sustained investigation was, what role do the objects we collect play in our lives? Piece 1 shows a calm girl with clothes next to her. Clothing acts as a collection that we always have with us. Even in a crowded place, they can give us security. This piece gives life to the clothes, taking up a seat for themselves. Piece 3 continues this idea by physically representing a feeling. Objects can be a reflection of inhabited space. Piece 4, the cartoon, shows the history of an heirloom, while 5, the magazine, explores consumerism, creating a must-have mindset that we base on collections. Conceptually, my work began to lead more towards surrealism, where I created my own world in which all of my objects reside. Piece 7 is an index of who we are, as if we each have a manual. Stills from a short film I created are shown in Piece 8, which mixes objects up from their rightful locations, showing how objects define routine. The freedom to use any medium led me to create an assemblage for Piece 9, a manipulation to show what happens to objects in abundance. They're unrecognizable, mirroring inner workings of our body. My last piece embodies surrealism, the dress protecting the objects below.
The guiding question of my sustained investigation was based around architecture and how structures can carry emotion, history, and stories. I began by studying buildings that are close to me. Home, Piece 1, was captured over 12 hours, the house staying constant through time. My pieces became exploratory, giving a new lens to spaces I know well. Mini, Piece 4, shows a tilt-shift blur, mirroring how I am outgrowing my hometown. Library, Piece 5, begins to explore emotions beyond my own, and Hancock, Piece 6, continues my exploration of perspective. Paramount, Piece 7, builds on this while emphasizing the blur and the excitement of nightlife. Several pieces were explored to show multiple moments in one image. Castle, Piece 8, combined the cyanotype process with modern digital photos, and State House, Piece 9, builds on the exploration of history. Digital editing emphasizes a piece of Boston's past, surrounded by skyscrapers. Gingerbread Houses, Piece 10, combine digital and film photography, acknowledging past and present, and exploring the impact of color on the viewer's perception. These pieces gave me the opportunity to explore photography and architecture in tandem, and I'm extremely proud of all that I created.
My sustained investigation focused on finding a way through adolescence while translating these concepts into wearable art with unconventional materials. Piece 1, Pleats, was hand-stitched in a cream fabric with a wire flower to symbolize purity as one enters the teen years. The next three pieces, safety pins, purse, and hands, represent defiance, and the latter, shock value. Open resistance as a teenager feels like a rite of passage as we find our own way. I explored the harshness of the stage, but also wanted to show the beauty of growth. The stencil-dyed dress, ropes, and beads represent friendships and the joy that these forever intertwined relationships can bring. Mental expansion, the headpiece, is a nod to learning so much, but also provided a new experience. Onlookers would often ask to try it on, and the interaction was pure joy for myself as the artist, as well as for the wearer. My last two pieces focus on the concept of coming into your own. Piece 10, Wood Cage, symbolizes embedded family values, while the tool shows finding one's own values in harmony with their upbringing. Almost all materials and techniques were new to me, challenging me to embrace their full potential.
The inquiry that guided my sustained investigation focused around the idea of self-expression and how holding back out of fear, pressure, or other stigmas can affect me. Self-expression can take many forms. I started by exploring outside pressures to change. In Piece 1, the food piece, I expressed insecurities of eating in front of others. Altering how you eat can change how you are viewed by others. In Piece 3, I began exploring multiple emotions and how, depending on what you show, you may be viewed differently. This is shown in the casino piece, which develops the idea of gambling with what you show others. Piece 4 started with an overwhelming feeling, engulfed by choices. This grew into clothing, used as a way of self-expression. There is a man covered and surrounded by clothes. Pieces 5 through 8 all investigate the feeling of being cornered or stuck, mirroring how self-expression has felt restricting most of my life. As a result of fear holding me back, I felt like I wasn't allowed to be me. My last pieces, Bubble and Metamorphosis, signify hope and embracing change through positivity and freedom, while a sense of peacefulness is seen in both pieces. I revised my idea of self-expression from worry and anxiety of celebration.
The guiding inquiry of my portfolio is, how is America perceived? I experimented with a variety of ideas based on historical views, personal perceptions, and a trip to China, where I interviewed people about their view of the U.S. Church and State, piece number 1, and Beacon, piece number 2, focus on how America has been viewed through history by using traditional materials such as printmaking and graphite, while the Embroidery, piece number 3, bridges the gap of traditional materials with modern emotion. Climate Protest, piece number 4, inspired by photojournalism, is a personal observation of a political time in history. Cities, piece number 5, and Grocery, piece number 6, both started as digital photographs, but editing allowed for experimentation in pattern, texture, and composition. Accordion, piece number 7, is my play on a diptych, where the U.S. is represented by a paper tiger. When confronted with an enemy, they collapse in the second image. In my travels, my interviewees shared what animal they thought represented the U.S., resulting in a zoo in piece 8. Sign, piece number 10, tooled from copper, pushed me through revision, planning, and experimentation of materials. This piece helped me to show the complexity of the U.S. to others and the contradicting emotion that can be felt by many.
Hi, it's Mrs. Giannotti. The 2019-2020 school year had many, many challenges. This group started their APR journey without me there while I was home during first term, settling into my new role as mom. As I returned, they were patient and kind while I learned to balance teaching and home. I was back at school for 4 months before we ended up abruptly cutting our time physically together short due to the coronavirus outbreak. Even though it was only 4 months, I feel like I was there the whole time. These APR students immediately brought me into their creative processes, absorbing my feedback as I tried to tap into what their motivations and inspirations were. Without daily physical check-ins, submitting an AP portfolio became an independent aspiration that I'm happy to say they all achieved. Although we did communicate quite often to get over the finish line, the motivation was personal for them and their investment in their artwork was clear as they finished their portfolios early while staying safe at home. I am so proud of each and every one of these student artists, and I know the WHS Visual Arts Department and Greater Wakefield community is as well. Their perseverance through adversity is something to be admired. They have reminded me why I love my job, even under these crazy circumstances. I cannot wait to see what next year brings for each of them. Whatever it may be, I know they will knock it out of the park. Take care, and I can't wait to see you again. Congratulations.